for the young people and with the young people, but we need to update the status of affairs of the young people. What do the young people want to see more in their space, and what areas do they need support more? And so this research is an effort to collect data, evidence, to inform what the young people really aspire for, and for players like government, society, and development partners to program on the basis of such evidence in order to be responsive to the current needs of the young people in the region.
I believe that we are still trapped into a narrative seeing young people as this homogeneous group, without realizing that there is a massive difference of circumstances from 18 to 35, and then all these socioeconomic circumstances. But then when we take a step back and think of young women, we know that patriarchy negatively affects their participation at private and public life. As such, when we want to investigate to which extent the environment is enabling youth participation, we need also to focus specifically on young women participation. Young women participation is this big, different group. Let's take, for example, young women with disabilities. Which type and form of disabilities? What type of socio-economic challenges and circumstances affect them? What's their level of education? And many other aspects from rural to urban, and also the way the digital divide affects them. Starting from this kind of analysis, we have then realized that it was extremely important not just to investigate youth participation, but even more, young women participation from an inclusive perspective, which means that we have focused as well on young people with disabilities.
The research addresses the programming needs of a cluster and set of players. To begin with, the youth themselves. They need a space and a process through which they can express their own needs, aspirations, and what they want to see working on, and whoever wants to support them, where they should put the support. Two, government policymakers at all levels, from national youth councils to members of parliament that represent young people, but also policymakers in the institutions of government, such as national youth councils and ministries responsible for taking care of the needs of the young people. And lastly, the development partners who are supporting government efforts and also in some way supporting young people's efforts. They need to know through this research for the next 3, 4 years, 5 years, what should we prioritize in order to be in solidarity with the young people and address their identified needs.
Conducting such a study, which basis is indeed inclusivity, was not easy, because inevitably we know that the 6 countries of our consideration, but more generally the continent, is affected by an evident digital divide, which means that conducting and trying an outreach to the most vulnerable was not easy. We tried with the expedient of having a cross-sectoral investigation through focus group in each country of our interest. And although it was very interesting of having the engagement with different stakeholders, yet it was a little bit challenging in terms of investigating, collaborating, exchanging with, for example, young people with disabilities, but also different young women groups.
Good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are watching us from. Welcome to this evening's Africa Unplugged. We are very glad that you chose to spend this evening with us. My name is Fiona Kemejisha, and I work with the communications department at ULEAD Africa. Now, before we jump in, again, I just want to let you know in the comments that you should feel free to let us know who you are, what is your name, where are you tuning in from, so that we can get a really good feel of how many different areas we are reaching, different countries. And Sorry, I see a few requests coming in to allow recording. Unfortunately, I can't. I can't give you that access. However, we are streaming live on all our different platforms, so you'll be able to access this recording on our Facebook and YouTube, I believe. I'll ask my colleague to leave our link so that you can follow us in case you want to access this recording later on. All right, jumping back in, please do let us know where you're tuning in from. What do you do so that we can connect more with you even beyond this program. If it is your first time, a very warm welcome. We have had various engagements like this on Africa Unplugged every other Thursday. If you've been with us before, thank you for returning, and please feel free to invite a friend, send them the link, let them register, and be part of the conversation we're having today. Now, as we are all aware, the International Youth Day is coming up right around the corner. This Saturday, in fact, is International Youth Day, and the international theme is Green Skills for Youth Towards a Sustainable World. Now, we are borrowing from that theme for our discussion today. I'm just really taking into consideration and highlighting the fact that green skills, while being important for everybody, are especially important for the youth, because the youth are the ones with, the youth are the future. I know you hear it a lot, it sounds cliche, but the youth are the future, and you and I are the people that are going to carry these things forward as we work towards a green transition for every single community, every single country in the world. It's important that young people are equipped with green skills, not just for general life, but even in your workspaces and the different places that you occupy. So we've invited some really great guests who are going to guide us on this conversation, share from their different experiences and expertise in very diverse areas, but all tying into our conversation today on empowering the youth as far as green skills are concerned. So maybe let me first let each of our guests just take a minute to introduce themselves. I see that all of them are already here. Perhaps ladies first. Let me start with you, Miss Soina. Go ahead and put on your camera and introduce yourself briefly.
Okay. I don't know if you can be able to see me properly, and if you can be able to hear me.
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Thank you very much. My name is Anita Soina. I'm an environmental advocate from Kenya. I am also a SDG and sustainability influencer. I am the founder of the Soina Foundation, which aims to support children from my community, which is the Maasai community, to access quality education. The foundation also does that by addressing the challenges around it. That could include sanitation, hunger, and different factors that affect children when it comes to education. Then I am also the founder of Spice Warriors Climate and Environmental Organization that seeks to educate both children, youth, and the general public, especially in rural areas, on what climate change is and how they can contribute to action in their own little ways. I am an alumni of Lead Her Fellowship. The first cohort, which was 2022, the 2022 one. I am currently the Global Youth Champion for a UN-hosted partnership called Sanitation and Water for All. And I also currently work with the Africa Climate Summit under the Youth Wing, which is the African Youth Climate Assembly. I wear so many hats, but I think that's enough for today. And of course, as you can see from my sweater, this is the late Professor Wangari Maathai, who's also an inspiration. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Anita. That's an amazing and very, very impressive resume. I hope that, I'm sure everybody who's listening in is thinking, wow, that's a lot. And just in case, if you don't know, she's actually a very young lady who has been able to do a lot and continues to do a lot. And I think that we can learn a lot from her, just from the spaces that she's occupied and how she's used her voice and her foundation to really champion the cause of climate change. So let's go ahead to our next guest, Mr. Michael Schifferl. Welcome. We're very glad to have you. Kindly take a minute to let us know a little bit about who you are and what you do. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Hi everyone, I'm really glad to be here tonight with you. My name is Mikhail Shifarov. I'm currently working for Johannita International Assistant as head of global support unit. So my unit provides support globally to all countries where Johannita International Assistant have an operation. So I worked for the past 20 years to different international NGOs and some bilateral organizations, including Oxfam, WaterAid, the British Council, and African Peace Foundation are few of the organizations that I have worked in different senior management position. I have been working also as a president of the Ethiopian Human Resource Association, Society of Human Resource Management in Ethiopia, for about 5 years in the past, and contributed for the human capital development of Ethiopia, and have been engaging with various stakeholders in the HR sector globally and in Africa as well. I am a certified leadership coach and workplace coach, and I provide mentoring and coaching senior management colleagues and different people at different level throughout my career. I am also a safeguarding advisor and a certified safeguarding investigation in the effort of creating a world free of fear and workplace abuse from any sexual exploitation, harassment, and abuse. And also I am a disability inclusion advocate. So in this line, I am also engaged with various sectors. I have been working as a member of board of experts for Safeguarding Resource Hub. I hope some of you may aware of the Safeguarding Resource Hub. And also I have been working as a board member for Ethiopian Center for Disability and Development, and engage with also various board and extracurricular engagements at voluntary level in Ethiopia and beyond. I'm very happy to be here as a guest of speaker and share my experiences from specifically from Grayscale HR perspective. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shifarov. Really appreciate you taking the time to come and join us. I've seen a few people saying they're having issues with the sound. I believe that may be a problem on your end. Try to exit and then return, and it might fix the issue, because as far as I can see, our sound is very okay. I can hear the guests and the guests can hear me. So please do try to exit and return, and then we'll see what, hopefully we can fix whatever issues you might be facing. All right, so moving right ahead to our third guest, Mr. David Nyaribi, welcome. Let me give you a minute to just let us know a little bit about who you are and what you do. Just in case you guys don't know, we like to call this gentleman the ambassador of possibilities. He will share with you what that means. Welcome, David.
Thank you very much. Kemigisha, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, very well.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And thank you, Africa, for joining in for this particular engagement. My name is David Nyaribi. I am the ambassador of possibilities. And this basically means that I always endeavor to speak, to inspire, motivate, and empower in every space that I am in. I work with ActionAid International under the Global Platform as a leadership and a governance specialist. And lately I have been supporting on campaigns around climate justice. So I am extremely happy to be here to share on this particular topic that we have, because I also lead on social movement building and nonviolent campaigning, which expands now to the climate justice engagements. So I believe it will be a great time for us to share, learn from each other. And I am happy for the panelists because they also share a big scope in line with our topic tonight. Thank you very much, Fiona. I look forward to a fruitful and productive engagement. I am joining in from Uganda in the capital, Kampala.
Thank you so much, David. Actually, we should have probably mentioned where we are all tuning in from. I'm joining you from Kampala as well. And probably our guests will also tell us where they're joining in a little bit later during the program. And once again, please do feel free to share the link and invite a friend to be part of our conversation. This will be more of a conversation. It's not really a conference, so don't feel like you can't put up your hand or anything like that, although that will be towards the end of the program. We're going to first have a conversation with our guests, and then you'll be able to contribute a little bit later on. I'll ask also my colleague Regan to send our links so that you can be able to access this program, the recorded version of it later on, because I do see a few pop-ups on my screen for people asking to record locally. Unfortunately, I can't do that, but we are having all of this recorded and you'll be able to access it on our YouTube as well as our Facebook. All right, so moving into the conversation. So as we discuss green skills, we can't not talk about the fact that the reason why this is so necessary is because we are in the midst of a climate crisis, which will only continue to deteriorate the earth if we do not make very intentional steps at improving as individuals, as communities, organizations. Every single stakeholder, right from you, the individual, has a part to play. So I thought we'd start the conversation with just the climate crisis itself. I feel like that term sometimes seems very abstract. We hear it everywhere. You hear it on the news, you see it everywhere on social media. But I want us to just talk about what that means to each of our guests in their different professions, what that means, and even as even their personal views on what the climate crisis actually means, what it represents, and why it's so vital for us to be paying attention to it and not only having conversations, but taking practical steps. So let me go in the same order and start with you, Anita. Please share with us your thoughts on what exactly is the climate crisis and why is it so important for us to be making steps towards having conversations, towards having real and practical solutions for the future.
Thank you very much. So for me, I'm going to share from my perspective as a climate advocate and also as a member of the Maasai community, which has been disproportionately affected by its effects. So to me, climate crisis represents a significant threat to our planet. I mean, looking at the already existing effects that we are facing at the moment. You know, gone are the days when we used to say that climate crisis is a story for the West, or climate crisis is a story for so many years to come. We can already feel these, the rising temperatures, the extreme weather events, the change in weather patterns. Like right now in Nairobi, it's awkwardly very cold, which will not be the case at the moment. We're also looking at loss of biodiversity, and even which is now causing the disruption in ecosystems and so many other things. I love to share, for example, that ahead of COP27, a lot of pictorials were being shared about why we need to, for example, push for loss and damage financing and all that. And most of these pictures, sadly, were taken from a community that I come from, which is the Maasai community. The dying livestock, even humans, the dying humans, and so many of that. If you look at even from the northern Kenya, and just to say the pastoralist community generally was really, really affected. And that's why for me, I have taken the discussion on climate crisis very dear to me when it comes to addressing it, because it's something that we face right from home. And the reason, of course, why we need to address it is it's not just so it's happening and then so what, you know, so there are floods and then so what? No, but because it's also affecting our economy, it's affecting our well-being, it's affecting even social stability. Looking at I will still use the example of the same community, is that we now have climate mobility, which before I used to refer to it as climate refugee, the climate refugees, but then I came to learn from one of the organizations that it's good to call it climate mobility. So if you look at these people who are forced to move from one place to another, you then realize that in some instances, it causes even clashes and wars, where people move from their own land to land where it's better, maybe during droughts and all that. And then you wouldn't deny me to graze my cows in your land, yet I can see grass and I've come kilometers away. So that can easily cause clashes. And then we have the gender issues coming out of that, where like I mentioned at the foundation, we help children to learn and all that. You realize with the climate mobility, children are not even able to have now quality education because they either be moving, the boys will be moving with their dads, or the parents will have to remain with the children, and the girls at home when the boys go to school. So just looking at how it directly affects our lifestyle, livelihoods, and all that, then that is why it needs to be addressed. And also one thing that I just wanted to mention is on climate anxiety, which I know is not really mentioned most of the times, that so many people, not only people who are trying to fight for climate action, but even the people who are directly affected by climate change are also suffering from climate anxiety. And that's why we need to address that. But as I mentioned, it's affecting economy, it's also affecting our social stability, and we have to act on it. And as I finish on that point, just to echo what the late Professor Wangari Maathai once said, that we tend to put the environment last because we think we need to eradicate poverty first. But what we forget is we are not eradicating poverty in vacuum. We are doing it in an environment. Thank you very much.
Very well said. Actually, what you closed with is what the thoughts I was also going to start with in just responding to that there's actually nothing we can't develop in a vacuum. That all the different things that we are trying to solve are very much closely tied to our earth, the earth that we exist in. And so protecting it is so important. I mean, you are talking about issues of climate mobility, even the disproportionate effect on women and children when it comes to climate. And I'm glad that you keep using even the Maasai community in particular, because of course we talk about the experiences that we see closest to us. So that's what you're seeing close to home. So it's important to identify those things in our own community so that we can start to say, to identify them as our own, because sometimes I think we are looking at problems like they're so far away, but they're in our own communities, in the spaces that we are in. And so we need to be responsible for them. All right, so let me move on to David. David, please share with us your thoughts on what the climate crisis represents to you as a person who's also leading this campaign under ActionAid Uganda. What does this mean, and why is it so important that we take action, that we actually take action?
Thank you very much, Fiona. And I also want to say thank you to Sonia already for the submission that she has made. Very recently, or a few years ago, we were talking about global warming just in that context. Then we have been lately talking about climate change, but now we are actually amplifying it to say it's a climate crisis. And when you speak of these terminologies or words, many people within the local communities think these are words of the United Nations. This is the World Bank program or something that is NGO thing. But again, you hear them in the communities speaking and saying, we used to plant our crops in a particular season and we would harvest in this particular season. When it would rain, we would be sure of water harvesting and not floods. A little bit of prediction for planting, for weeding, for all these agricultural processes. But now within the communities, it's so unpredictable. When it rains, the people are not sure whether they are going to have water or floods, or if the dry spell has come, for how long it will stay. And then now that is where we are coming in to explain to the people within the communities that this is the climate change and the crisis that we are talking about, that you are now not able to be sure when to plant. When it rains, you're not sure whether you are going to stay within your household because it is going to flood. That the heat, you cannot predict how hot it's going to be. And this is exactly what we are telling the communities. And I want to tell our online audience here that climate change and crisis is not something far from us. It is what we are experiencing today. It is the extreme and prolonged heat that we are having. It is the flooding. For example, last year in July, my city in the east, Mbale, where I come from, flooded for the very first time. And people were trying to attribute this to the gods or any kind of misfortune that has happened. But we were very sure that this is coming because of the encroachment on the slopes of Mount Elgon and the human activities around Mount Elgon as a physical feature. and also the encroachment on the river banks, which led to the flooding within the city. So the aspects of climate change speak to these day-to-day aspects that we are experiencing today within the communities. And I want to say that different communities experience different impacts and challenges. For example, those that live along the coastal areas are experiencing rising sea levels. You know, those that are within the areas where there are glaciers and snowing, there is melting of the glaciers, which leads to floods and unpredictability of what they can do. So it is a crisis that is affecting people specifically in different ways, but it is a global, it's a global issue. It is a crisis, and I am happy that Fiona, you state it as a crisis and not just merely change, because change can be positive, but we are very sure that this particular one is very negative. When Sonia speaks about farmers not being able to predict how they will harvest, how they will be able to have their animals, that is the crisis that we are talking about. And I will later on speak about how we are trying to address this and what is causing it exactly. Thank you, Fiona.
Thanks, David. I'm glad that you also brought out that aspect of we continue to talk about it like it's abstract, you know, like it's far away. Yet it's for all of us, you know. It's not something that NGOs or, you know, I don't know, social media influencers are just talking about. They're talking about it because it's a real threat to not just the farmers, not just the people who are talking about it, but it's a real threat to every single community that we live in, that we serve, where our families are getting their food, their sustenance. So it's an issue that affects absolutely everyone, which is why I wanted us to, you know, just first start with that. You know, what does this mean to you? And why do we continue to call it a crisis? Are we just being alarmist, or is this actually what it is? And also, let me say to our audience, please feel free to also leave your thoughts in the comments, and I'll keep coming in there and reading some of your thoughts on the same questions. And remember that at the end, you'll be able to put up your hand and share something. So let me move on to our other guest, Mr. Shefero. Please share with us what the climate crisis means to you, both in a professional angle, which is I'm very excited also to get into that, because if you follow us and have seen the posts that we made about this particular engagement, you might have been wondering, where does his experience come in? But climate change, my friends, really touches every area in life. And he's going to be able to really share with us when we talk about work, you know, the professional space, because he's an HR professional, among other things. And he's going to really help us get into how climate change also affects that area of life. But let's, before I get ahead of myself, Mr. Shefero, please share with us your thoughts on the climate crisis and why it's so important for us to be treating it as such, as a crisis.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure if my connectivity is better now and you can hear me.
It's very good, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I fully agree what David and Anita has shared. I don't think they left me many things to say, but I fully agree that the agenda of climate change belongs to those big guys who are meeting in a circle in a big forum in UN and in different big meetings, and that cannot be left behind for international NGOs or some other sectors, because we all normally feels and already felt the impact of the climate change in our day-to-day life. Yeah, recent incidents and what has happened and the examples that has been already demonstrated in our village, in our country, can be explored further to understand what climate change impact has in individual level for our youth, for our women, for our children, and to different people. Climate change, actually, the impact is increasing from time to time. We cannot wait for the next 30, 50 years to feel the impact of the climate change. The world is changing. The earth is already affected. We are experiencing already high temperature, the drought, the changing of the rainfall pattern, the fire that we always hear in the news. And it's affecting us, and it reduces the food security for our people. People are dying due to drought or scattered to different places. And the internally displaced people are the number of internally displaced people because of the climate change is increasing. So the climate change for me and also overall the environmental degradation have an impact in gender, intergenerational, and overall it has a socio-economic impact in our life. Generally in the world, or if we see specifically in Africa, we have already felt the impact too much. That's why we can relate to our forum and how our African youth can contribute reducing this impact with our skill, with our motivation, with our day-to-day engagement in life. I think that's the question that will lead us to the next discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shifero. Sorry, okay. All right. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think for sure, as we listen to each of our panelists, we hear, a very similar message that is, resounding, that there's this climate crisis is not something that we can ignore. We can't, just keep seeing it in the news and flipping over. We very much believe here at ULEAD in every person doing their 1%, especially the youth. As most of us know, on the continent, our continent is a young continent. The youth bulge, it's not something new. Over 70% of our continent are young people, and we are the ones that have the responsibility, the greatest responsibility, to be equipped to take action. And action doesn't necessarily look like one thing. That's why we have such diverse guests, and they're going to share with us a little bit about that. Now, we know that the SDG 13 talks about taking urgent action to combat climate change and its impact. So as we work towards that collectively, as we work towards combating climate change in light of that SDG, we can't ignore that young people are so vital, because we are the ones that will take it forward longer. Right? Ideally, we are the ones that will take it forward longer. So maybe let me go to David, because David is leading a climate justice campaign at ActionAid Uganda. So David, please share with us a little bit about what methods you have found to be impactful in carrying out this campaign. And probably within there, you'll also be sharing with us how the young people on the call can begin to take action as well, in whatever it may be, advocacy, it may be, actually, let me leave that part to you. So please share with us a little bit about those campaigns and how young people can get involved, or also what they can do in their individual capacity.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Fiona. And thank you very much, my brother Michael, for already speaking to the issue of climate, still adding on to what Anita and myself had said. Fiona, you rightly say that young people are important, because we are here today, and God willingly will be here tomorrow. So meaning we have a longer time to impact the way we live, but also the environment in which we live. The aspect of sustainability is very key, because when we talk about sustainability, it is meeting the needs of today without compromising generations of the future to meet their own needs. So as people that are on the planet, but especially the young people, we must begin to have attitudes, we must begin to have knowledge, we must begin to have abilities that can enable us to meet the needs and also address the challenges of today without compromising the future generations, but even our own selves in the just later years, to be able to survive and thrive on this planet Earth. So ActionAid recognizes that the climate crisis is real, and something needs to be done about it urgently. So we have already started, and we're not working in isolation. We are working with different partners, including ULEAD, in line with advocacy, but also very practical engagements that I'm going to speak to now. So we have drafted and brought up this aspect of the Global Climate Justice Campaign. And in this campaign, we are highlighting the two main causes of the climate change and crisis, but also offering solutions, not just ending at the causes. So we have highlighted that the leading two causes of climate change or crisis, one is the use of fossils fossil oils, which involves the mining of coal, using of petrol, diesel, this particular way of generating energy. That is the leading cause. So this comes from the industries, it comes from the mining areas, it comes from the gases that we actually eventually leading into the space. But secondly, the aspect of industrial agriculture and or you can call it agribusiness, agriculture on a large scale, but not using organic methods. So those we have highlighted. There are also, of course, others, but we have highlighted those two as the top causes of the climate crisis. And what are the two solutions that we have crafted or drafted towards these two causes? One is the use of alternative energy or renewable energy. In there, you'll talk about solar, you'll talk about wind energy, you'll talk about hydroelectricity, which will not emit fuels, the gases into the space. But secondly, on the aspect of agribusiness and industrialized agriculture, we are talking about agroecology, which is very much connected to the traditional way of carrying out agriculture in unorganic and that kind of nature. So our campaign is premised on these two aspects, the two leading causes, but also the solutions that we are providing. And while we are doing all this, we recognize that, of course, we have now divided the world into two halves, talking about the global north and talking about the global south. But when you look at the percentages that the global south contributes into this entire climate crisis, it's only 3%, the global south. In there, you have Africa plus southeastern countries like Bangladesh, Myanmar, India, and all these. The global south, only 3%, leaving the 97% to the global north. So our campaign is not just encouraging the local farmer to practice agroecology or do something, plant trees, but we're also targeting to work with the global north to reduce on the emissions. So this campaign is talking about funding our future. And that is where Anita also talked about aspects like loss and damage, a fund which is mainly from the global north, but to support countries that are facing climate impact related challenges from the global south, like floods, like prolonged drought, and all this. So our campaign is highlighting the causes, giving us the solutions, but also giving us the strategies and who the strategies should target. When it comes to the global north, we are talking about loss and damage, money that can be able to support the global south as the least contributors to this crisis, but also them taking their action, reducing on emissions, not just funding us, because you can say you have the money and you will do the damage and then fund to mitigate or to kind of do away with the damage. But we are talking about funding the damage and the loss, but also taking action like reduction in emissions and also other practices that can support. But also the global south, in our own right, to continue with what the actions we are taking, even including aspects that people take lightly, like management of waste and plastics. The Environmental Day on June 5th was talking about, the theme was about beating plastic pollution. So we have a whole range of activities and ways in which we can contribute to climate justice. And that is where the campaign is coming in. And we had a light launch on the 5th of June, but now the major external launch is going to happen on the 4th and the 5th of September. So in my remarks of making a call to action, I'll be able to urge young people and the whole world to rally around this campaign and be part of these processes. But now, as I finish, I will highlight what ActionAid has done. In line with other partners, we have carried out climate skills share. This happened in Bangladesh, where young people gathered from the different regions, including the global north and the global south and the different countries, to share skills that are working, what is working and what is not working. So a skills share is a very good avenue for young people to be able to share and learn on what actions they can take. Then this year in May, that was in 2022, is when we had the skills share. This year in May, we're still in Bangladesh, and I will highlight why Bangladesh is being used so much as a location. We had the climate actions camp, where again now young people gathered to be able to learn, and when they get back to their countries, they're able to share this knowledge that has been gathered and picked to be able to urge and motivate, inspire, and empower young people in their communities to take action. And the location has been Bangladesh because whereas some parts of the world are yet to feel the adverse effects of climate change to a particular level, cities like Dhaka, which is the capital of Bangladesh, is already facing and feeling and having extreme heat. You know, every place you go to, you must have air conditioning, otherwise the heat is too much. And like Anita talked about climate mobility, people being forced from their places, people from the countryside have already been forced into the city because there is a bit of adaptation there when I talk about the air conditioning. So the skills share, the actions camp have been places where skills have been shared and imparted within the young people. But ActionAid International Uganda actually runs an agroecological center in Amuru, which is the northern part of the country. And this center is there to demonstrate to the young people how agroecology can be practiced within their communities. Just 3 days ago, I was there at the center with young people from the areas of Adjumani to be able to pick lessons on how the interlinkages of the different projects that you can have in an agroecological center. So these are ways in which we encourage young people to pick skills, and ActionAid is at the forefront to make sure that this happens, but also majorly the campaign. On the 4th and the 5th, the campaign will be launched. This campaign is targeting the Global South as well as the Global North. And I am one of those taking lead in Uganda for the climate justice campaign. So I will be able to highlight when I make my call to action on how young people can participate. But Fiona, you already went ahead of me, which is a good thing to talk about advocacies and all this. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, David. You touched quite a number of things, but I know that later you'll be able to really share with us how young people can plug into all this amazing work that you're doing. In particular, I am glad that actually you started to talk about the Global North and the Global South, because it's such an ongoing back and forth and conversation every single month. And actually, that's why I'll go to Anita next, because she's been part of like a lot of those spaces. And I'm sure she'll have a comment about that, because like David shared, the Global South, which includes Africa, only contributes 3% to these emissions and so on. And so, you know, we stand in a place where we are suffering the consequences that are primarily as a result of industry and so many other things in the Global North. However, as David said, we still each have a part to play. One of the things that I can point out from my own community is plastics, the management of plastics. It is appalling, to say the least, at least where I come from, in Kampala, Uganda, in Uganda as a whole. The management of plastics, polythene is really dismal. We look at the big supermarket chains, all of these big factories, industries that are pushing plastic and they're pushing the use of plastic without actually providing avenues for recycling. Even in places where it's not needed, why are we still using polythene bags in supermarkets? And you need to ask yourself also a question individually, because a lot of the time we really spend time blaming, talking about policymakers and so on. And that's important because obviously they play a very big role, but you need to also ask yourself, how are you behaving with plastics and polythene? When you go to the supermarket, do you take your own bag and do your 1% for the earth? I want us, if we go with nothing else from this conversation, to go back with the thought of what is my 1%? Even before you go into advocacy for your community or for your country, what is the 1% that you're contributing to the earth that we are trying to take care of? All right, let me go straight over to Anita then. And so I know, Anita, you've through the span of your career, which is also amazing. You're so young. You've done so much in your career already. But through the span of your career in advocacy work, individually, through your foundation, please share with us a little bit about what the reception has been like, because you've been in a place of sharing this information, of calling people to join the cause. What kind of reception do you get from young people? And what kind of sustainable activities or changes have you been able to really see happening? And also still, like I asked David, what kind of things are you finding to be really helpful, so that hopefully even the other people that are on this call that run organizations that are interested or that have one of their pillars as climate change can borrow from, because I know David talked about skill sharing. So yeah, just a little bit about that, the reception that you see from young people and the kind of methods that you're seeing that are really being impactful for sustainable long-term change.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I will start with the skills that I've been able to use so that I can share the reception. And I will say, when I joined the space, I had no class background, meaning I did not study anything related to these. It's when I was just trying to find my way in the sustainable development goals space and to understand what best I can be able to contribute to. I think that is when I discovered my passion for conservation. And at that time, I was already joining university to pursue something else, which is corporate communication and public relations. So the first thing I told myself is I'm not going to change my course because I need other people to understand that you can be anything that you are. You don't have to be an environmental scientist, or you don't have to study any related course for you to be able to contribute to climate action and to be environmentally conscious. So I realized one of the biggest challenges that we had, including myself, joining the space, is that the tough language of conservation. You know, we have the language in the space can be really tough for someone to understand, and sometimes even boring if you're not passionate or if you're not in the space already. So then I realized that as a team and the organization, we decided that we are going to try as much as possible to make conservation fun so that we can win as many people as possible. At that time, I was working in the arts and entertainment industry as an artist manager. I was working in one of the big record labels in Kenya. And so I started asking myself, how can I now turn the followers that I have to also understand what climate is? And I remember when I was transitioning, I lost so many engagements in my digital platforms because you left from telling us about this artist is dropping a song soon to climate, and people couldn't understand. But then slowly, proud to say that if you look at the organization that I founded, our organization has over 300 members, 300 volunteers, both in Kenya and Tanzania. And then you realize less than 1% have a background on environmental conservation when it comes to maybe what they studied in school and all that. So that really worked for us, simplifying the tough language of conservation and making it fun. And then the reception was not really, when I started personally, the reception was not that good. But as time goes by, I came to realize that it depends with how we communicate to the young people, because we live in a generation where environment, social issues, community challenges do not excite most of the young people. And so then you don't ignore and say, no, because you're not interested in this, then we are not with you. And also, just for myself, is that when I started, I only knew much about tree planting because it's as easy as getting the right seedling and just planting, growing it, and that's it. But as time went by, learning, and also the youths that joined, who continue to join our organization, we keep learning every day. We keep knowing how the nexus between climate and, let's say, worsening poverty levels, the nexus between climate and gender and all that. And so it has really been able to grow. And so one thing I've also seen is that the young people are continuing to improve. We have moved from a place of vulnerability. We have moved from being, we are the most affected, we do not contribute to climate change, we did not do this, to actually offering climate solutions. And that I'm speaking, for example, about the African youth. You realize that most African youth are not coming to the table to ask for favors and to ask for all that, but to say that, look, I am coming to this table to show you that I have this climate solution that if we implement it could be of this importance. And for me, I think that is one space that I've seen really improve, and so proud of to say that we are now moving from just being victims to showing the solutions that we have. And the reception keeps improving every day. And I also think that the effects of climate change are contributing to positive reception, because then people can now see, people can say that when I was growing up, the river at home was this way, and today it's no more. People can now start to relate because they feel the effects either directly or indirectly, but they can see. So I think that has been able to change the reception of how youths then receive this information on climate change and how they perceive advocacy in general. Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you, Anita. I think you pointed out something important with making conservation fun. I think it's one of the challenges of a lot of people who work in similar spaces, even with us, YouLead, just targeting youth. A lot of these things we have to make fun. Social issues, let's be honest, can be boring, can be a little bit too technical and so forth. But we do have to keep reminding each other that no matter how boring some of these things seem, they affect us directly, indirectly. And when we're talking about climate change, it's direct. It directly affects each and every person. So, I mean, it's great to see foundations such as yours, organizations such as yours, intentionally making climate more of an interesting thing, so that young people can really want to come on board. And like you said, offer not just, we're not just being victims, but we are sitting at tables and offering solutions and being an active part of those solutions. So I'm also excited to hear later on when we just talk about how young people can plug into some of the work that you're doing, that ActionAid is doing, so that when we leave here, it will be really great to know that young people can know where to go to plug into those spaces and be able to do something real. I don't know, whatever that thing is, that you'll be able to do something, that you won't just leave here only with knowledge, but also with the inspiration to actually go and implement and do so, not just inspiration in the mind, but you go out and actually do something. You're 1%, like we said. All right, so let me move over to Mr. Shifero. So the world of work, as he shared earlier, in case you are with us, I know some people may have joined us in the middle somewhere. Mr. Shifero is an HR expert, and so he's going to talk about. Actually, I'm glad Anita talked about the nexus, because climate change has a nexus with so many different things, whether it's gender, whether it's politics, where it's so many things. So there is a nexus between climate change and the world of work. It plays a very critical role in this fight, this battle that we are in against the climate crisis. So, for example, things like implementing climate-friendly business practices or doubling down on digital transformation efforts. So all of that, very different and important ways in which the world of work plays into climate change. And so to achieve the goals that we are talking about, the kind of earth that we want to work towards, sustainable economies and so on, organizations have to be able to invest in green skills for their employees, for their workers, so that the world of work is directly contributing to what we want to see in this climate advocacy, this climate action. So, Mr. Shifero, maybe you could share with us why is it so important for organizations to invest in green skills, and maybe also how they can do so in a way that is really impactful for this cause that we are talking about.
Thank you very much. It's very, very important question. Linking climate change with the future workforce and the skills that the youth need to adopt and develop towards achieving the global goals of global goal 13. And also the ILO estimates that about 24 million new jobs will be created by different sectors, which is sustainable and also contribute to the economic development in line with the climate change initiatives. So our youth need to be prepared for meeting the standards and the requirements, which is the green skill. I need to talk a bit about that later. And we are moving to emerging green economy, And we can see that a lot of efforts are ongoing currently to make the economy system carbon free, as already mentioned, and creating environmentally friendly and a more sustainable economy in the world. And beyond creating new jobs, existing jobs also will be transformed in order to be adaptable and contributing to the green economy. And NGOs and different, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, as you mentioned, different sectors are creating different taking different new initiative. Even David has mentioned various initiatives is currently undertaken by ActionAid. Likewise, many international NGOs, including where I am working currently, are adopting climate change in their strategy. So, the knowledge and ability and values and attitude that is required to live and develop the supportive environment with a sustainable economy is the areas that we need to highlight for our youth in Africa as well. Different type of skills, green skills can be adopted, but as you mentioned, digital transformation is one of the area. And beyond that, also, there are various areas that we can think of green skill, like creating some energy efficiency activities, controlling erosion in agronomy, also various environmental services in urban planning, and also creating friendly construction technologies. All those areas, including traditional jobs, need to be transformed into green skills. All sectors require some level of green skill. So like in this short session, I cannot cover what really, various level of green skill required to different sectors. But going forward in the coming years, the demand is coming. More jobs that is to be created by the world, by different sectors require this skill. That's why the organizations also start transforming themselves, coming up with a new change management process, adopting the what the world is required, and also start investing in their human capital. Many organizations think that investing in human capital is just wasting of money. And it is hard to convince from HR perspective for the leaders to understand the return on investment on investing in the people. But now the world is coming with a demand. Unless we prepare ourselves with a changing economy, with a changing world, towards the transformation of jobs that require green skill, we will not continue to be productive and profitable in our businesses. I think those are the type of things that I would like to highlight in this very short minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Schiffer. It's really important. It was really an angle that we were keen on sharing, and we're so glad that we have someone who is a professional in that area to share with us, because it's just like we keep saying that this climate action is so important to every single area. Just like he has very ably explained, it is so vital. There's a nexus, there's a very clear nexus there with the world of work and climate. These green skills are going to become, or already are, more important than ever, even with us, young people, the kind of maybe the jobs that you're trying to acquire. It's going to become, very, very important for you to be the kind of employee or the kind of leader that is equipped to bring in that aspect in whatever different ways that you are working. So thank you for sharing that. And I see a couple of contributions in the comment section. I know Anita has ably responded to some of those regarding regarding, I think, the nexus between climate change and menstrual hygiene, women and girls. I see a couple of you also just saying hello and telling us where you come from. Thank you so much. We are happy to have you with us. Perhaps let me read this last one from Glory. I think you're responding to Mercy as well. It can be climate change can be a contributing factor to resource conflicts, social unrest leading to insecurity. And that is true. Anita has actually talked about the same. So we're going to just move into the last part of our program this evening. We do like to keep it a bit short, just short and sweet. Okay, so I'm going to go back to our guests and they'll share with us some of their thoughts and also some calls to action, if any. You know, if there's something maybe that you're doing in your space that you would like to invite the young people who are here to come and be a part of, please let us know about that. It could be recommendations. I'm keeping that one a bit open, and we'll give it 1 minute for each of our panelists. So let me go back to David. Perhaps let's start with you.
Thank you very much, Fiona. Thank you, my colleague Michael and Anita, for the submissions and speaking to the issue as it is. I want to say that everybody is welcome to join in the Global Climate Justice Campaign. We are launching this campaign on the 4th and 5th of September, and that will also be within the week when climate activists and policymakers will be gathered in Nairobi, Kenya, for the Africa Climate Summit. Our hashtags will be Fund Our Future, hashtag Fund Our Future. There's also another hashtag, Climate Justice Now, and then there is Money to Burn. Money to Burn is a hashtag which is targeting banks within the global north that actually fund extraction of fossil fuels, but also fund industrial agriculture. So I'm calling upon especially the young people to join the Climate Justice Campaign that is going to be launched 4th and 5th. This campaign will be speaking to the issues that we have highlighted in this meeting, but also giving solutions and urging and asking for the policymakers and the different governments all over the world to do something about climate justice. And why? Because if we do not do something, we are going to have a bigger crisis. It is already a crisis, but it's going to get bigger if we don't take action today. Yesterday was the best time to take action. The next best time is today. We must take action now. And an action for climate justice is an action that supports the present, but also supports the future. So I welcome Africa, especially the young Africans, to get on board with the climate justice campaign. And let's do something for the climate. It can be as simple as managing your plastic waste. It can be as simple as planting a tree or telling a friend about this crisis. Welcome, and I'll say karibu tena, karibu tena. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Perhaps one question is, where can they stay updated? Where can they stay updated on how exactly they can take part?
Yes, thank you very much, Fiona. All our ActionAid socials, the Twitter, the Facebook, we'll certainly be giving this information. So if they type in the hashtags Fund Our Future or Climate Justice Now, Money to Burn, they will be able to participate in this process. But even for some of them that can reach out to us, we'll be engaging in even a deeper way physically. So we'll be able to do this through our socials and also some physical engagements. So it's going to be global. They will see it. So when they see it, let them participate. Thank you.
All right. So I think if you have any more questions, you can definitely plug into the ActionAid social media. I don't know if David wants to share his email or something in the comments.
Okay.
Maybe other questions. I think they'd be happy to reach out.
Yes, Fiona, I will do that. I'll also share my WhatsApp number for climate-related issues. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Fiona, you are muted. Oh, apologies. All right, so I'm just moving on to Anita with the same question or same prompt. Please share with us a little bit about just your parting shots, what you'd like the young people on the call to know, but also if there are any activities or campaigns that you're doing right now that they can plug into and be an active part of, please share those with us as well. If there are any resources, you can share in the comments. We'd just like to know how they can plug in.
Okay, so sorry, first of all, change of background because of my internet before you
No
wonder.
problem. This is Africa. The internet is always humbling us.
Yes, and so one thing that I would like to say as we end is that if you don't do it, nobody else will do it. Most of the times when I say this, people think, I mean, you're not the only environmentalist, so I'm not the only environmentalist, but that is not the case. If you don't do it, nobody else can step in and do what you're supposed to do. So all I can say is, let's all join hands and do the little that we can. I like to remind people that you don't have to do a million things as an individual. You just do the little that you can. If everybody does their own little, then together we become the change to the entire world. And also, for those who do not know, the You Lead Summit, the You Lead anthem says, "You lead, I lead, we lead together." So that is very powerful. So I lead in the space that I'm in, you lead from where you are, and then together we lead. So about the opportunities is that I have decided to give a platform to some people who are trying to contribute to climate action in their different areas through my program and my project called Green Warriors TV. So Green Warriors TV's aim is to amplify the unheard and untold climate stories, especially in Africa. So we are going to be using my personal platforms and the Green Warriors platform. And so I welcome all of you to send me a message. I will drop my contact just at the chats. Yeah, my contact number and my email so that you can reach out to me. And then we are going to reach out to you together with our team for you to send videos, articles, and anything that you feel should be shared. That's the little that I have right now to use my platform to amplify what other people are doing. And this is because there are so many people who are doing a lot of work in the grassroots, but may not have the luxury of platforms that some of us do enjoy. So I want to share that platform so that it becomes our platform to showcase what we are doing in the grassroots. That's what I have for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Oh, please don't make it a small thing. That's not little. Providing a platform for people who need to for young people who need to do this work, who need to put out these messages, who need to communicate with their leaders and their communities is very, very important. So thank you for that. And please, guys, do check out the contacts that each of our guests are sharing so that you can be able to really plug into what they're providing. Ultimately, we want this space to really be useful to you and the work that you want to do so that we're not just having conversations that pause precisely here on your computer or your phone. You can be able to plug into the amazing resources of our guests that they're sharing and do something, do your 1%. All right, let me move over to Mr. Schiffer. Welcome once again. Please do share with us any parting shots that you have. And indeed, if there's any calls to action as well that you would like to share or any resources, we'd be happy to have those as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much, David and Anita. And it's very, very important insights that I have also learned tonight from this forum. Yeah, for the sake of time, I can say few words and emphasizing on green skill. As I mentioned, the world is changing. We are living in dynamic world. And as you mentioned, on little things, we are also contributing for the effect. So we need to be careful at individual level also to contribute positively for a better environment. Even at religious level, we all hear the story that the earth was perfect, the world was perfect, and we are, created to give good care to the world, but because of mismanagement, now we are reaching to the level where the earth becoming the earth that we cannot live longer with this situation. So we need to contribute for the better environment. So in terms of linking to the HR beyond the general perspective, as I mentioned, the job market is changing. about 24 million jobs by 2030 expected to be created, mostly linked to the green skill. And also ILO predicts, 4 type of changes will be happening in the job market. So new job creation and also job reduction. Those jobs which is linked and associated to brown economy will be affected. So we need to transform, where, our skill, expertise and experience linked to brown economy, we need to learn new skills of, working for green economy. And job substitution will be happening, and also job transformation. So organizations also, in order to continue to be productive and profitable in all sectors, need to be ready in investing in their human capital and investing in digital transformation and investing in green skills. So by doing so, with the green jobs, we expect that, agricultural productivity will increase. Many solar energies will be happening. A lot of biogas initiative will be happening. The biodiversity aspect will be explored. There is many areas that our youth in Africa can explore to diversify their skill set in terms of this. Of course, the other soft skills are also equally important, like communication, leadership, and others. Yeah, by doing so, we will be enabled to save millions of people to overcome poverty and enjoy improved livelihood. So that's my aspiration and wish for Africa. Thank you very much for this opportunity that you have provided me to share my perspective in this line. Thank you very much. Everyone, feel free to contact me. I left my email address, and I will leave shortly also my LinkedIn contact, so that we'll be professionally connected. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Schiffer. Really appreciate you and appreciate your time. Okay, just in case your mic is on, please mute, just so we can hear each other. All right, thank you so much once again, Mr. Schiffer. Thank you to each of our guests for sharing from your experience, from your insights, from your personal thoughts as well on the topic of green skills for young people. We really appreciate your time. And once again, a call to our audience to take advantage of the resources, their own contacts that our guests have shared. They are quite experienced in their different areas, and they're, providing some of these avenues for you to reach them and plug into the different work that they're doing. So please do take advantage. Mr. Schiffer is also a leadership mentor, and that's a really important thing. That's something we take. It's one of our pillars at ULEAD Africa. Maybe just to share with you a little statistic, globally, only 2.6% of parliamentarians are under 30 years old, and less than 1% of these young MPs are women. So that's a reminder, because as we talk about social change, it's very important for us, the youth, to be in places of leadership so that we can impact the kind of world we want to see, right? The Africa that we want, as we keep saying. Now, we have a couple, now, as I said earlier, International Youth Day is this Saturday, and we have quite a jam-packed program for you online. And there's a couple, I have like 2 or 3 people here who are leading some of those programs. There'll be virtual engagements. So please do, let's give them just 1 minute each to share with us some really amazing engagements that they'll be hosting on Saturday, so that you can also be able to plug into them. We are all about connection here. So I want to give you the plug, as we say, for those different engagements. I'll start with David Emolot. I know he's here. He's a chairperson of ICOYACA, of the Independent Continental Youth Advisory Board on AFCFTA. David, I'm giving you a minute to share with us about the engagement that you have coming up on Saturday. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. And sorry for my background. It seems to be loud. It's a Thursday in Uganda. So that's why. But anyways, we are having the another engagement. I think this week has been the commemoration of the AFCFTA. I mean, not AFCFTA, but the International Youth Day. And of course, again, as the council, we have also organized a webinar that is mainly going to go into detail about green skilling and how the youth can mainly integrate that with their businesses. So with that, we have quite a lot of speakers within the African Union, Mr. Prudence. We also have keynote speeches. I think you could check on the AFCFTA Advisory Council website. Those details are actually there. And the theme of the day is mainly mirrors the theme of the international theme. And the theme of the day is youth entrepreneurship and sustainable trade in the AFCFTA era. So what are some of the challenges and opportunities? How can the African youth instill or integrate green skills within their businesses to mainly ensure that they live beyond their first birthday? So that is what we are discussing, and we will have different other speakers coming to, mainly experts, of course, in this case, who will go into detail to discuss how best the youth can be able to leverage green skills in their businesses. Thank you, Kevin. And see you all. Register, please. Yes.
All right, thanks, David. Please do share with us the registration link in the comments. So, and perhaps even what I was sharing on my screen is the Ikoyaka Twitter page. If you follow them, you'll be able to really get updates on everything they do. They have chapters in so many countries across Africa, and they're doing really amazing work in ensuring that African youth are taking an active part in the AFCFTA, because the AFCFTA is ours, you guys. You have to be on the ground, understanding what is going on, making contributions. So we have another person. I'm not sure if Yona is still here. The Lead Her Fellowship has an engagement on Saturday as well for International Youth Day. So I'm going to invite her to just talk briefly about it so you can hopefully plug in. Go ahead, Yona.
Hi, Fiona. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Great. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. Yes, we will be hosting a session on Twitter via our Twitter space on Saturday in commemoration of International Youth Day. And the theme is basically locating the African Union and African women and girls in the Women, Peace and Security agenda. We have some youth advocates from South Africa, as well as a Lead Her Fellowship alumni. I see Anita, who's also a fellow alumni. We were in the same cohort, so that's really great to see. And we're looking forward to having you all there. The link will follow soon enough. But yeah, we're really looking forward to having a robust conversation about gender, peace and security, the nexus between the two, and also other critical issues around the African Union, youth empowerment and participation, and also getting to grips with the AU's role in ensuring that the WPS agenda is really taking shape on the African continent. So yeah, please do join us via Twitter on Saturday, the 12th of August, via the One Young Africa platform, as well as the Lead Her Fellowship page on Twitter as well. Over to you, Fiona. Thank you so much.
Great, thanks, Fiona. I have left the link for the Lead Her Fellows Twitter page in the comments. Please do follow them for updates on what's going to happen on Saturday. As Yona shared, I think it's a great space for us to plug into. The Lead Her Fellowship itself is phenomenal. Amazing young women such as Anita herself, Yona, were part of the first cohort, the maiden cohort 2 years ago, I believe. So please do check that out, young ladies in Africa. That's an amazing opportunity. Maybe, keep updated so that maybe next year you can apply and be part of the amazing work that we are doing over there. So I'm going to go ahead and probably close our session. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking time.
Sasa na mimi nilipenda niwasalimu kutoka Kongo. Jambo.
Jambo. All right, so we're going to go ahead and close, guys. Thank you so much for your time. Again, our guests, thank you very, very much for spending this time with us and sharing from your experience and your knowledge. Young people in the audience, thank you for inviting a friend. Thank you for sharing from also your work. We hope that you will take whatever knowledge and experiences that we've shared here into your real life. So it won't be just another conversation, but it will be something that helps you change your community and ultimately our world. Thank you once again. With that, we'll close. Warm greetings from YouLead Africa. Please do plug into all our socials to keep updated on everything that we do. Our website, I'll ask my colleague to share once again all of our platforms. Perhaps one more thing I can share with you. is our WhatsApp community, where you can be able to just get sort of real-time updates on everything we're doing. So you can check that out. I've sent the link, and we are closing. Thank you once again, and have a good evening, a good afternoon. Really depends on where you are. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Kwaheri, kwaheri.
Tusonga mbele mama Afrika, Afrika. Tusonga mbele mama Afrika, Afrika.
Young men and women, with the pillars, with the future, here we are, let's join together, with ability to change communities, with love, with peace, to respond to our need, to call for unity. Africa, hear me cry, never leave me alone, as I see light in a brighter future, let's join hands for youth and women, let's join hands for youth and women.
We live together, so you lead, I lead, we lead together. We believe, let your dream be a reality. We believe, let your dream be a reality.
Yeah, vijana wa Afrika wote waungana, vijana vijana kutoka mashariki, magharibi, kaskazini na kusini, hata na kati, twaja pamoja ili tufanye nini?
So you lead, I lead, we lead together. So you lead, I lead.